Hi, everybody. It's really, really good to see you out here. Hopefully, we can cool off a little bit as we all sit and relax, but maybe the conversation is going to get heated. We'll see. But I'm very, very happy to see everyone this afternoon. My name is Chanan Tigay. I'm a professor at San Francisco State University. I'm also the editor-in-chief of J, the Jewish News of Northern California. And really happy to be representing our newspaper here. You know, we see Z3 as sort of the personification of what we try to do in our pages, both on the web and in our newsletters and our print edition every week, which is to say to foster conversations within our community about the important issues facing the Jewish community, both locally in the Bay Area and, of course, around the world. So you'll notice you have a free J bookmark on your seat. It might be under you right now, getting sweaty, or you've already taken it out. But in any case, please do feel free to use the QR code there to sign up for one of our newsletters to get the best in Jewish news from the Bay Area in your inbox every day, and especially on Sundays. So with that being said, I'm really thrilled to be here with our esteemed panel, all of whom have come in all the way from Israel to speak with us about what is happening there on the ground right now. I will briefly introduce each person, although during the course of our conversation, they'll have the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the organizations they represent and the work they do. But to begin with, we have Rachel Azaria. Please raise your hand so we know who you are. A former member of Knesset and co-founder of Ha'ogen for reservist families. Rabbi Menachem Bambach, founder of Netzach Educational Network and pioneer of Haredi integration in Israel. Maria Giris, who is the CEO of the Shita Institute for Local Policy, advancing a shared society through municipal leadership. And lastly, but not least, Itamar Kremer, educator and author promoting Jewish Peoplehood and civic renewal. So welcome to all of you. Let's give them a round of applause just for making it here. And just to set the scene a little bit for our discussion, to sort of establish a framework. By the way, I'm not checking my likes on Facebook here. I've written questions down. So historically, when we've discussed threats to Israel, they've been external threats, right? Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas. And now, increasingly, when I talk to people in Israel, the threats they seem largely to be referring to and to be concerned about are internal threats. Not that these external threats have disappeared, not by any means, but fractures within Israeli society between religious and secular, between Arab and Jewish and Haredi and left and right, fractures which people before October 7th worried could lead to a civil war, right? It's hard to remember sometimes now, but terms like judicial reform, we were talking about quite a lot before October 7th. Consecutive elections where no government actually emerged from it and people worried, are we heading toward a civil war? And then came October 7th, and for a beautiful moment, everyone seemed to have come together and put aside their differences and worked towards Israel's greater good. But that was short-lived, I'm afraid, and these fractures now are back and seem perhaps to be worse than they ever were. So what I'd like to do today is to define the problem and to begin to talk about and think about what the answers to the problem might be. And I think we have 4 people up here who are uniquely placed to help us do just that, but each of them from a very specific sector of Israeli society. So to begin with, I'm going to ask each of you the same question. We'll start, Menachem, with you and just move this direction. Why does Israeli society feel so fractured today? What is the cause of the fracture that we're talking about?
Oh, wow, I'm the first one, right? I need to bring a very high quality of the discussion and dialogue. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all of you to being here. You choose this the best place, I'm telling you. I saw a lot of people are very frustrated about other places. So. I just, last Shabbat, I was invited in a show, not far away from here. And before Kiddush, there's a lot of people comes before Kiddush, the last moment in the davening, and all of a sudden, after the Kiddush, I saw a young guy. He works in Silicon Valley. His name is Adam. I never met him before. And I asked him, would you consider one day to move to Israel? And he said, yes, but the reason why I'm not going to Israel, because I don't want to immigrate to Israel and hate. And I think what's happening with the Haredi community is a source of hate, and that's why I'm not going now. And it shocked me. I understand, I have full empathy for your concern, but I told them one thing. I told them, follow me, I promise you much less hate. What I'm doing in Israel is I built 20 schools right now. Once we're going to meet in a few months, we're going to have more. We have 20 schools, elementary schools, high school, boys' school, girls' school, that fully combine secular studies and religious. That's mean that over 50% go to the army and 100% full matriculation. So if you're going to meet Israel a little bit in a better place, it is because of those kinds of movements. And I really believe that those actions to educate a young child with love, with solidarity, it brings a lot of hope for the Israeli society. So regarding your question, I know as a panelist, you don't need to answer the question. You can choose. That's very Israeli. But I would say that I think if people think that the discussion and dialogues and dispute that we have in Israel is about, let's say it's not about people just they care, I think it's about people who care too much. You will not find in Israel indifferent people. Everyone is very, very in. And it bothers everyone. They get up in the morning and just thinking what they can do for Israel. And this is a reason, I think it is, if we understand it, we can be much more relaxed. Because we want to find people who get up in the morning and think about what's going on in Israel. So I think what we see now, things will be much better in the coming months and years. Since October 7, I can speak about, but there is other panels. I need to give him the time.
Okay, so Rachel, why does Israeli society feel so fractured? Are you as hopeful as Rabbi Bambach?
So hi. So of course I'm hopeful because I'm a Jew. Because I'm Israeli, right? We believe in miracles, and that's the only way you can really be an Israeli and be Jewish, especially these days. As for today, I run an organization that helps families that one of the parents are in reserve duty. Many people, men and women, left their families for hundreds of days. The average of reserve duty days is 250 over the past 2 years. That's the average. Okay, and we're talking about parents that left their children, left their wife, their husband, and just went off into Gaza or to the north to protect us all. And today we're assisting 35,000 families with 20,000 volunteers in 1,000 cities and towns throughout the country. Thank you. And every time, listen, I started it October 7th. I just posted it as very typical Israeli story. I posted it on Facebook. I opened a WhatsApp group, honestly, and said, who wants to join? We thought we were there for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. We never imagined we'll need to be there for such a long time. And more than anything, I could never imagine that we would have 20,000 volunteers volunteering for 2 years. I mean, who does that? And we have people, what do? We cook meals, we babysit, we dog walk. We have dogs that have a schedule. Who comes to take out the dog every day and every evening? We have laundry folding. We have women that their husbands went on miluim. They're doctors in the hospital. They need to leave the house every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. Someone needs to be there to take care of the children. We have volunteers that come in from 6 o'clock to 7:30, organizes the kids and sends them out to school or to kindergarten or whatever it is. It's this real, community concept that people are there for each other because that's what we need to do in these days. And I think that more than anything, when I think of what makes this organization going and what makes Israeli society going in these days, I think that more than anything, it's a love story. We love. That's what we do. We love each other. We're willing to be there for each other. And I think that's a very powerful strength that makes it happen. Part of this love in Jewish communities and in Israeli society is about showing up. And what we've proven is that when it's needed, we show up. And not only we've proven it, you guys have proven it. What what Zach said on the stage, $1 billion were raised to help to get the hostages freed. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's exactly that showing up. And when you think about it, the showing up idea is a very deep idea in our nation, right? Also for the minyan, for your community, you have to show up, you know. For in the JCC and your community and your society, you show up. And the same kind of concept we use in our miluim. The way the reserve duty is organized is that if you don't come, you are making it harder for your other friends. They won't be able to go home during the time of service if you don't have enough soldiers come in, okay? So do you understand so everyone shows up because you're not, you know, it's not fair towards your friends. And I think that what's happening today in Israeli society is that we're checking who's showing up. And whoever shows up in a larger way, those are the people that we feel that are part of our family. And the other groups in Israeli society that aren't showing up enough, I think what's going to happen now over the next couple or maybe probably even more years is that we're going to start to demand that they show up and that they're part of this challenge. And I'll say about the Orthodox community, and Menachem talked about the schools that he's founding and working to make it happen. The Orthodox community, unfortunately, didn't show up. And I think we all expected that they will join the army. Like, this is the moment. This is what you do. You show up when you're needed. And every ultra-Orthodox that will join the army, like at the age of 18, will allow 6 miluim, 6 reservists with families, with children, not to come in for this year. And if you want them to come in for half the time, it means that every ultra-Orthodox that joins in, you have 12 miluim, 12 reservists that will come in for half the time. And then when we start figuring out the numbers, we have 360,000 miluimnikim that are showing up time after time for 250 days a year over the past 2 years. So we need more manpower and women power. That's what we need today in Israel. And I think this is a huge issue that will have to be discussed. So that's where I think that we are these days.
And just to be clear, when you say Orthodox, you are referring to
ultra-Orthodox.
Yeah,
I'm Orthodox, by the way.
Religious.
I'm Orthodox, and we're that. And the Chiloni, the secular and the Orthodox, we know to work together. The ultra-Orthodox, I just think, they just need to show up, join in. That's the story.
We will certainly get back to this question. Menachem, don't worry. You'll have a chance. Maria, what's the cause of the fracture in Israeli society from your perspective?
Okay, since you didn't out me, I'll do it by myself. As a non-Jewish person, it's very interesting to be here today, a very Jewish place. But actually...
That's saying something coming from Israel.
Yeah. I'm a minority in Israel. Actually, a minority within minority. I belong to the 2% population of Israel, Arabs who are Christians. So I feel minority as an Arab woman, as also an Christians in a Muslim majority Arab society. So regarding to your question, I think that it's all come back to how we define the other, okay? And when we're speaking about the fractures in Israeli societies, I imagine boxes and walls. People all the time want to put you perfectly in your box. And as person who holds overlapping identities, I'm all the time trying to push out people. I'm Arab and Israeli. Arab, Christians, I'm also women, liberal, secular. So for me, all the time trying to put people in a box, it's mean that very hard for Israeli society to hold complexity. And I think this is the main challenge when we speak about political polarization in Israel. You should choose a side, and then crisis times it become more tense because when you speak For example, with the Arab circles about October 7th, and then people will think you are deny the Palestinian pain. For me, we as a human being can hold two different pains in the same time. And also, when I'm speaking, I'm actually in the past 20 years living with Jewish society. When I speak with Jewish people, the mainstream Jewish people in Israel, about the suffering of civilians in Gaza, the same. People refuse to listen, and it affects also the Arab-Jewish relationship within Israeli society. I think I dream on a day that maybe people stop look each other in this way and start to see the human beyond.
Inshallah. Itamar.
Hold tight. I think that the main cause for the fragmentation and for the total collapse of Israeli society in the last few years is the total absence of mutual cause. We don't know why we are here. We don't know what are we doing. The only moment that Israel society was united to a mutual cause was in October 7th. I was there. I went to the south. I went to my army unit. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the army. I went to the army unit. Before I even grabbed the gun, I catch the first car from my unit going to the kibbutzim at the south. And we knew that we have a cause, that we have a goal, that we have a mission. And everyone felt the same. But 3 weeks later, when I went home, I heard one of the ministers start blaming me. You know, the protesters, the opposition, the Oslo supporters, for the war, for Hamas, for everything. And since then, we haven't decided what we want to be. The only cause that we are all united about is the survival. And you can't build a community, you can't build a sense of mission when your mission is to survive. It doesn't work like this. It never worked like this, never before. And I think in terms of what we need to do is to start talking about cause, about vision, coming back to the Declaration of Independence of Israel when it's all visionary. We want to have a state without a difference between religious and equality and gender and ethnicity. And we're not that anymore. I mean, they tried to put us into the sea in October 7. Since then, we tried to put them back to the sea. But still, Israeli society cannot speak about peace. We're afraid to speak about peace, which is part of our Declaration of Independence. And the only thing we find to unite us still is the army. I don't want an alliance of servants. I don't want a Haredi unit in the army that is separate, totally separate from the army, when they cannot see women, when they cannot tolerate the fact that there are women equal in the army. I don't want it. I don't want a religious, right-wing extremist unit in the army that go into the army and say, because we're in the army, we can do whatever we want with the Palestinian population in the West Bank. What I look for, and sorry for being dramatic and you just touched the spot. I want us, and the people are here. We're not representative of anything. I mean, you put us here like a representative of sectors. We are from the same sector. We have the sector of hope, the sector of life. We're not sector of death, and we're not sector of disequality. The 4 people that are here, the 5 people, Chanan, I haven't known you enough. Maybe we're a minority in our sectors. Menachem is a prominent leader. He's representing about 10 to 15% of his public. Rachel, a liberal Orthodox, 25%. Maria, a peace thriving and hoping and connecting, I don't know what the percentage in the Arab population. And for me, secular, left, as you can go, wing. And what we are trying to build here is trust and respect for each other. And I think that once Israel society will gain back its vision, its hope, its cause, it will be easier to speak about trust and respect.
So, you talked about trust and respect, but you also said 3 weeks after October 7th, you were immediately under attack. This past week, we marked the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, the 30th anniversary of Rabin's assassination. And many people say that horrible event was the result of an escalation in awful political rhetoric. And so I'm curious, given what you just said, Itamar, how much of the fracturing of Israeli society that we've been describing now is a result of politics and political rhetoric?
The easiest thing to do is to blame the politicians and the tikshoret and the press. They are the bad guys. They want more ratings, so they try to. And it wasn't only a process of both sides getting polarized. It's one side that couldn't give up the idea of controlling the whole state and building an halacha state in Israel. That was the cause of the Rabin assassination. It's not polarization between two sectors who wished for good and they just couldn't handle it right. And right now, Arthur Finkelstein, he was an advisor to presidents, and it was also an advisor to Benjamin Netanyahu, some politician that 30 years ago tried to run for prime minister. So Finkelstein told Netanyahu, you need every Israeli to think whether he is more Jewish or more Israeli. If he is more Jewish, then he is for security, he is for tradition, he is strong, and he will come to the right-wing party. If he is more Israeli, well, he's not strong enough. He don't have roots in the past, so his future will not be strong enough. And that's the way that Netanyahu, for the last 30 years, and the political camp that is united around him, that's the way it works. And I think that we should build a mutual Israeli value-based identity, but we also need to build within the Jewish community in Israel a joint Jewish identity which is not based on what do you look like, but on what do you believe in. And I think that the model of this kind of alliance that we should build between Jews in Israel is the same alliance that you guys have here. Look at this place. You got religious people, you got ultra-Orthodox, you got secular, you got liberal. You chose to be here. And no one is trying to control. I don't. This is the way you talk about it. I hope that's the. No one is trying to control others, but you celebrating the fact that you are together. Israel ceased to celebrate its past, and so in this way, we're not celebrating who we are. We're only celebrating who we were. So I think that the solution for that is stop blaming politicians and the press, and to just get to know each other and to speak about values and to find partners the same way the four of us here trying to do.
And Maria, when you hear Itamar talk about creating a sort of joint Jewish identity in Israel, what do you think?
My partner is Jewish, so I'm okay.
Well, I suppose my question then, it wasn't about your marital status. It was more about, more about where the Palestinian-Israeli community, which is to say Arab citizens of Israel, see themselves within the larger context of a Jewish state.
I have two answers to your questions. I think that I prefer the answer that what I dream. Okay, my vision. It's not maybe it's not actually represent all the Arab society, because really we live in a difficult times, and I think this extreme government did not allow Arab people to look for a shared future, but I'm still in some way believe that it could be. So for me, to be in I think that what we should ask ourselves, I think the Jewish people used and loved to ask who is Jewish, okay? For me, it's interesting, but I think that the important question we should ask ourselves, who is Israeli? And I think in the past 3 years, we talk a lot about the new contract or the social contract that we should put. And I think maybe we should not have one contract. Yes, I believe that basic rights like equality, democracy should be like shared for all of us. It's like a narrow, small national covenant that should include all of us, Arab, Jews, secular, religious. And under this, we should let every place, not every community, okay, every place, cities, regions, to put the specific contract. Tel Aviv will be more liberal, Jerusalem will be more traditional. Also in Arab society, there are religious people, mixed cities. So this is my answer, okay?
Good, thank you. Rachel, I see you taking notes, so I think you're going to answer whatever question you want when I ask you this. But that being said, Itamar, your point is well taken that to blame politicians and politics is easy. But Rachel, as a former member of Knesset, I think you have a unique insight in how the Israeli government works and in some cases doesn't work. Given everything we know about Israel's political system, does the government have a role in repairing these fractures? I notice that all of you now work for nonprofit organizations and not for the government, so maybe the answer is implicit here. But what can the government do to play a role here for the better?
Oh, wow. So I have my notes. You asked me a good question. So I'll tell you something that's been happening over the past year. Every day, a few times a day, people ask me, so when are you going back? Which means to politics. And at first I didn't know what to answer, and now I have a good answer. And the answer is that I'll go back to politics when, as politicians in politics, we'll be able to do more good and less bad. And when we will be expected to work for Israeli society, because unfortunately, over the past few years, in politics, all you're expected is to yell at each other, to fight with each other. It's not really about, passing legislations and stuff. I can tell you that 2015, 2019, when I was in the parliament, we worked together. I mean, then we thought it was broken system, but we still managed to work together, coalition opposition. So I think there were better times in Israeli politics, not so many years ago. I do want to, so I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. Okay,
and now there are a few short things I want to say. I was in politics for 11 years, come on, I have to, have a name to, okay, so one thing is about what you said, Itamar, about asking if you're more Jewish or more Israeli. So when I went into the Knesset, I was deputy mayor in Jerusalem. I was a member of Jerusalem City Councilwoman. Then I was deputy mayor, and then I went to the parliament. When I went to the parliament, I met with Limor Livnat. Limor Livnat was a member of the government for many years, and I kind of, sat with her. And then she said, Rachel, you need to answer one question. What are you more, Jewish or Israeli? I looked at her and I said, Zionist. So she said, no, that's not the answer. Think again. Jewish or Israeli? Zionist. And I didn't feel I could answer it. I'm Orthodox. I'm an Orthodox feminist. I go to shul. I do everything that. I'm very Jewish. I'm very Israeli. Come on, I was born. I gave up. I renounced my American citizenship to be a member of the Israeli parliament. I'm very Israeli. So how am I supposed to answer that? So I told her I'm Zionist, and I feel that more than anything, that's my definition. And I think that when we think of the future of Israeli society, and I know I'm sorry. Think of the future of Israeli society, at least the Jewish part, and I think that with the Israeli Arabs, we're going to have a longer discussion, but I think that's like the next stage down the road. We need to define who feels Zionist. And whoever feels Zionist is in the tent, and we can work together. And we're talking about, and Itamar was talking about the need to have, a vision of the future and a cause to work towards. And I think that that's what we did also in the Miluim, and also in Ha'ogen, the anchor for reservist families, that's the organization that I run. And we could see how the fact that everyone showed up in the Miluim in Gaza, you can have in your tank, and this is not like these rhetorics. It's true. You can have left wing and right wing, and you can have Druze, you can have Orthodox and secular, and they're all together and they fight together, and they talk about the love that they feel. Because when you're out there to take care of each other, you feel the love. And the same thing also with the anchor Ha'ogen for reservist families. That is the feeling that we feel. We know that we're there for a greater good. And then the question is, if it's the government's responsibility or the press, like you were saying, Itamar, that at the end everyone blames it. I think the only way to rebuild Israeli society is by finding a cause that we all work towards and really work towards it. And one of the reasons it's so important to work for the reservist families is at the end of the day, these are 360,000 reservists that they also carry the entire Israeli economy on their back. You know how in every society you have the people, in Israel there's a joke that the third of the Israelis work, third go to Miluim, and third pay taxes. The problem is it's all the same. The problem is it's all the same third. So and I'll just say that if this community will be in troubled situation, so our entire economy will pay the price. So that's why I think it's so important to think of them in these moments. Yeah.
And you've just sort of predicted my next question, Menachem. You've been very patient here. I recently asked a well-known Israeli economist whether Israel would survive to its 100th birthday. And in response, he immediately launched into a long answer about how the current situation is that the most productive members of society, I think the third you're talking about there, the most productive members of society are currently subsidizing the least productive members of society. And at a certain point, the productive members of society are going to get fed up with the scenario and just leave Israel. And by least productive members of society, I'm sorry to say he was referring to the Haredi community. And what he said was Israel may ultimately become an unproductive theocracy because of this. And I know that you are trying in your work very hard to integrate Haredim in society, so you clearly recognize the danger here. Do other Haredim understand the frustrations of the non-Haredi community? And do they see the situation I just described, an unproductive theocracy, as a problem?
Yes.
Moving on. Can you elaborate?
There is a comic character in Israel. His name is Shauli, from Eretz Nederet, you know him? And he was asked once, what do you think, how we can resolve the problem of dispute in Israel? So he said, a civil war. That's the only way to resolve the problem. And this short movie went viral. Over 3 million people watched this short film. And you know what? A friend of me told me in Israel that the reason so many people watch the film is one thing. It's a fear, a real fear inside the collective subconscious from the Israeli society that something bad is going to happen. And just recently, it was published that 58% of the Israelis has fear of a civil war. So something dramatic is going to happen. If Israel, the Haredi community, is not going to join, I'm telling you, it's going to be a huge issue in Israeli society. And I want to say two things. The first one, I really encourage the policy. I graduate from maybe university in public policy. So I try to speak in terms of policy. And I want to say that I encourage in the Treasury Ministry all over, I encourage them to use negative incentives against Haredim. And I say it all over, negative. If you are not a part of Israel, you don't have the right to be a part of Israel. That means if you cannot go to election and to elect, you don't have a right, you're not a citizen. So this is one voice. The other voice is, as individuals, the Haredim are amazing. The problem is there's a collective. That's the problem. And I want to tell you, we cannot blame them. This is a circumstances for a very old story. And the only way to make it happen is to provide for those community three things, and then you're going to resolve the problem. If you want, you can be a partner with me. After you're going to resolve the organ problem, right? If you provide for the Haredi thoughts, ideas, right? They can identify with what's happening, how they can explain themselves, concepts. The other one is education. If you give for the Haredi a different kind of education, you give them a feeling they are safe. No one can punish them in the community to take out their kids from the... And the third one is a community. And I think we can see more and more activities in my community that this is going in this way. And I'm sure in the next election, you're going to see much more Haredim is not going to elect the Haredi section. And I want to tell you more, the frustration that we have in the Haredi community, again, the Haredim they have a lot of fear. And, I have two kids. One of them is secular, and the other one is secular. Okay? And one of them went to the army. And when he came back from the army with no kippah, everybody says, you see, but you're a pluralist, you're liberal, you see the results. I don't buy those kinds of things, right? Because I know many Haredim with a huge strimmel that they have no connection with God. It's just stories. But I want to tell you, we need to make sure. I was a part in the army. I served in the army, just so you should know. You're going to say I'm not Haredi, right? No, I'm Haredi. You know who is a Haredi? The definition of a Haredi is if you have another Haredi who says on you, you're not Haredi. This is Haredi. So there's so many says, I'm not Haredi. So I want to say that the reason I have hope and I see things is going very well is the fact that we are growing as a network of schools with 25% each year. Just to let you know, in the Corona time, you remember it was for many years ago, right? It's an old story. Everybody was locked down, no access to education. And I said to myself, now it's the time to make an online school, right? But everybody told me, Haredim has no access to the internet. You're gonna provide and I figured out that only 70% has access to the internet. I said 70% is enough to make it happen. And I want to tell you, this morning I have over 56,000 Haredim who has access to the online school that teach them English, math, and science. They can come from Mea Shearim. I immigrate from Mea Shearim. So I have a lot of respect of the jury all over, diaspora Jews. But that you can see that it would never happen before. And now it's a time that even you are not Israeli as an ideological, but you are very pragmatic, and you feel the sense of belonging, and this is the most important part, and that's why I have a lot of hope. Showing up, yeah.
Itamar.
Just want to relate to something. For me, the answer for the question, what are you more, Israeli or Jewish, should be in Israel, first of all, I'm a human being. And I think that this is the main thing that we are trying to do, to go into ultra-Orthodox schools together with Menachem and other organizations, and to make sure that there is a talk about ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha first. Or every reacha, even if he's Palestinian. And we are working with liberal parents within the Mamlachti Dati, the religious system, to try to see that there are more liberal, humanistic democracy contents and program. And I think that this is the hope. This is what we're trying to promote, that we will be able to talk with each other, not to see from which tribe do you come, but to see to which future do you want to lead Israel.
Maria, I'm curious. We spoke a little bit about how after October 7th, Israeli society came together, at least briefly, in pursuit of a common goal. I think for the Palestinian Israeli community, the impact of October 7th has been perhaps the opposite of that. And I wonder if you can talk about how October 7th and its aftermath have impacted this community's sense of its place within Israeli society.
you began with that short moment after October 7 that we all feel united. I think also Arab society was very shocked and feared. Even they recognize immediately what is the result to the Palestinians in Gaza. They feel the pain of the October 7, and we should say that a lot of Arab victims killed in October 7th and also kidnapped. I think a short time after, extreme voices, politicians like Ben-Gvir started to say Arab will now enter the Jewish towns and start to make the distance, I think, more large between Arab and Jewish. And as the war continue, I think Arab people belong. Sometimes they have families ties with the Palestinian in Gaza, so they feel the pain of the Palestinian, and they see how the Israeli minister just refused to listen. And in this point, maybe I want to also to speak about the Israeli solidarity, okay? Because all the time, Arab people expected to be in solidarity with October 7th, and I'm truly agreed. But let's take, for example, the Arab society bleeding from years of organized crime within Israel, and we're facing a shameful government action, yet feel like the mainstream didn't care, and this solidarity feel like selective. And even Rachel, when you ask me, just wait, we will finish our issues and then we will.
Also, Shauli said that.
Okay, so it's like it's make it more difficult for people like me who believe in shared society to act in this field. One of my daily job, I'm leading an NGO organization called Chanan. We're working with cities and towns across Israel with all the sectors, and we are trying to make them deal with not only with the day-to-day issues like services, but also with the deep political and social challenges, because we believe in the municipal level, the local leadership can it's better finding shared solutions. And I think this is the future of Israel, to build a democratic and an equal society from the ground up, from the level of the cities, and maybe to build a new leaderships, because I think that the national leadership just, we come to such a zero game in the national level, and I think we should start thinking in new ways.
Yeah. Itamar, question for you, since you referred to yourself as, I think, the left of the left, I believe you said. And so I asked Rabbi Bambach a question. I said, does the Haredi community understand why people are so upset with its behavior in regard to serving in the military, etc.? And so I think it's only fair that I ask the other side, do you understand the Haredi community's point of view when it comes to serving in the military?
Sure. I appreciate it. They have values. They want to renew the world of Torah. They really believe that they are serving the state of Israel, the Israeli society and the Jewish society. So I can understand that. And I think that the way that the Israeli society is right now acting toward the Haredi community is not the way that we should. I mean, there was a law that said that we need to revoke citizenship, revoke the right to vote from people who are not joining the army. It's a fascistic law. It can't be in a democratic place. That if you should join the army and then you're not going to the army, then you cannot vote. And I think that the rhetoric that is not caring and empathy. I have cousins who are Haredi, and they don't understand what I want. I mean, what do you want? We serve the country. We need to say to ourselves that we lost this generation of Haredi people. We need to be brave enough and to understand that right now, imposing Haredi to join the army right now will be damage to the army and to the society of Israel. But we need to do, and I hope that the next normal government in Israel will do it, will have the same base, the same core education for everyone, for Arabs, for Haredi, for religious people, and for secular people. This is what we in the Israel Education Watch, this is what we're working on. When a kid, Haredi kid, in kindergarten, will understand that responsibility for your community is not stopping in your room, in your cheder, in your neighborhood, but it's responsibility even for Arabs and for religious and for seculars, because ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha first. I think that this is what the next government should do in the first act.
Great. So we have...
Say some,
okay, sure, but quickly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to thank you so much for your beautiful words, for your empathy and understanding that people dedicate their life for sitting and studying Torah. It's amazing to come to see you and listen to you. But in the same time, I have to say, we cannot come to agreements. We can come, what is happening here, a belonging. And I think this is the most important effort that we need to do, to make everything what we can to make the sense, the deep sense of belonging. Because no, it's if you speak about values, no, I don't think that we can change, and I don't need it. We need to change because everyone has his own issues and his own values. But one thing I would like to say, and this is the best way to understand how we can really live with each other without compromised values. It's about the pizza. There's a famous paradigm of a pizza from Bambi Sheleg. I worked with her for many years. She passed away unfortunately from cancer. She was a brilliant woman, and she said, imagine a pizza. The pizza has slices, and each slice presents a community in Israel. Arab, Orthodox, secular, Reform, all over. And just imagine the center of the pizza. You can see people in the center are much more close to each other than the people in the edges, in the fragile, right? Because they in the edge, they're going to stay there forever. We're not going to change them, but we can widen our the center circle. And I think people like us, this is a major effort to bring people to the center and to enlarge the circle. And even we come from a different community, everybody keeps on his slice, not compromising, but with a lot of respect and a lot of common goods and a lot of common interests. And this is something that can really, really bring much a better understanding and language in the coming years for Israel.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I don't know if you feel this, but I think there are many reasons for optimism, and it's important for me towards the end. I don't think anyone expected us after October 7th to be able to do what we've done. Also, the state of Israel, Jews around the world. Usually when things get very, very difficult, that's the moment that you realize who you are and what your actual, what your personality is. Also as people, but also as a nation. And I think that we've proved that when things get very, very tough, we show up, we're there, we work together, we know how to, just get things going. There's research that's just being published now that over 50% of Israelis volunteered the first month after the war broke out. So we know how to be there, and we've all shown that we know how to do that. And that's what in these days, we say the government, the press, the this, the that, you have to figure out. I think there are many, many reasons for optimism in these days. It was important for me to share this with you. I'll tell you that every time I would go on the Zoom in the morning, we had every morning a Zoom, I was afraid I'd be the only one there, opening up the Zoom, and why would anyone be there? And that never happened. Every day people were there, every day people were volunteering, every day people are out there. Until this day, 2 years after October 7th, post-October 7th, people are there, like you're here, like we're all. We show up, we know what to do. This is what our nation does. So, we'll overcome everything. I mean, we talked about the difficulties, but we'll be okay.
Amen. So you predicted my last question. So you've already answered it. So the other three are going to get a turn now. It's great. So in 30 seconds, because I want to make sure we have time for questions from the audience, I do want to end on a positive note. So can each one of you give me one reason for hope, one bit of good news coming out of Israel on this front? And Itamar, you made the mistake of looking at me while I asked this question, so I'm going to ask you to go first.
I think that you got here at least 4 reasons for hope, but I do have a request from you. Get involved. Get heavily involved. Shift your donations from things that the government should have done. Don't give any shekel to the IDF. Put your money where your heart is. And in order to change Israel, and in order to change Israel's future, we need you guys. It's not only unacceptable here, the guys that are shouting. I want every one of you to be deeply involved in Israeli politics. Ask people about their views. Ask people about their partnerships. One of the things that Israelis will have to start acknowledging the fact that we have responsibility for the world Jewry. What you guys have been experiencing here in the last 2 years, if Israel will not be changed, imagine your grandkids here. Would like to be recognized as Jews? And I think one of the things that we have to do right now in this generation is to shift the support of the world Jewry from only what the government wants you guys to do. And I'm saying it, and I want to be in the next government, not as a minister, but I want to be in the Ministry of Education, in charge of education for democracy. But I will not want your guys' money. I want you guys to challenge us, to show us the windows that we can't see, that you guys can see here when you look at Israel and we can see in Israel. And I really hope that you guys are part of the hope for the change in Israel.
Thank you. Okay, Maria, one hopeful sign.
I have a lot of reasons for hope, small reasons and daily reasons. As I used to say every time when I'm working with people to push them make more and more projects that promote shared society, I tell them we don't need to speak about shared society, we need to do it. And I have a lot of local, maybe small projects in towns across Israel that bring people together. For me, this is the hope for the better future that for me should be shared one.
Great. Rav Bambach.
If words can destroy, words can heal. And I want to say, just to be here and to see the phenomenon people and your dedication and love, it's the most source of hope. I thank you so much, knowing you, listening to you, and hopefully to continue our conversation. Thank you who you are. Thank you.
Thank you all. So have people been writing down questions? Do those exist anywhere? Is there someone who could bring them to me, and I'll try to... Hopefully your handwriting is better than my serial killer's scroll, and I'll be able to read them out loud. Okay, I'm just going to do them in order. Do you think the Arab parties will join a party against Bibi and the Likud in the next elections? Well, Maria, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to direct that to you. Did you hear the question? Do you think the Arab parties will join a party against Bibi and the Likud in the next elections?
If I think it will be?
Yes.
Bibi?
Correct.
Against Bibi, we actually have it in the past government for the
Right.
first time from Rabin's days that Arabs support the coalition, and for the first time, Arab Party also joined the coalition, and without this, I think that government could not be built, and I think also now the camps should be like not Jewish Arab or secular religious. It should be democratic and anti-democratic, and Arab it's totally within the democratic camp, and there is no victory without cooperation between Arab parties and Jewish parties, and maybe, inshallah, Israeli parties, okay, in the future.
Thank you. I'll direct this to you, Rav Bambach. Can the Rabbanut, the rabbinate in Israel, become more tolerant and accepting? And can its relationship, in its relationship with Jews,
Where's the comic
diaspora?
person? He was in the morning. I would like to ask him answer.
I'm sorry to make you the representative of everyone in the Haredi community.
It's
and
unfortunately very sad.
Yeah, and so in other words, can the Rabbanut become more tolerant and perhaps accept conversions by all OU rabbis, but let's broaden it out, accept conversions from other rabbis as well?
I think in the next government, if it will be without the Haredi party, will be there is great people in the middle and the center of Israel, and great members of Knesset. It bothers them very much, and I think they will need to find ways to change the bad feelings. So many was damaged of encounter with the Rabbanut. Unfortunately, it was Chilul Hashem. I know many stories. I was involved personally in some of them, and hopefully, with the new government, things will change.
Chanan, may I answer
Please,
that?
please.
I think that one of the things, in order to strengthen Jewish identity and Jewish values, the best method to do that, as I wrote in my book here, is a total separation between halacha and the state. There will be few rabbanut, and there will be choice of rabbanut, the same exact way that a Jewish communities around the world can handle itself, the same way that Israel should. The fact that we are the Jewish state, it doesn't mean that the state has to be the Jewish law.
And then, what format of Jewish/multinational state for Israel do you see/want to achieve? And do you think it is sustainable in the long term? Anyone in particular want to address that question? What format of a Jewish/multinational state for Israel do you see?
It's all written in the Declaration of Independence. Israel is not a multinational state. It's a Jewish democratic state. It has its core value. We just need to go back, not go back in time, but to understand that it all starts from education, understanding that Jewish and democratic are the same thing. And if we will come back to the values and not to the identity, and not to put ourselves behind fences, and declarations, but to go deep into the Jewish values that they teach in the cheder, that they teach in the yeshiva, that they teach in the kollel, and that I teach my kids. And I think that that's the future vision of Israel.
I can also say that as a non-Jewish person, Israeli, I all the time asked if I'm okay with the Jewish state, and I always say that first of all, I believe in Bible. I know this is the land of the Jewish people, and the Jewish people have the right to have their own country. And if there an extra right with this definition of the country, this extra right is actually for Jewish over the world, because Jewish Americans have a right to come to Israel, and Christian Americans have no right. What I'm trying to say that the equality, once you come to Israel, for me, we are all equal, okay? So the fact that Israel is Jewish state, it's not mitnaged, it's not opposing. that it will be a state for all citizens, okay? It could be a state for the nation, the Jewish people, and also for all the citizens of Israel. And the first thing we should do our government refused to recognize the equality as a basic right. And this is the first step we should do. And after that, I think if we did what Itamar said, to separate between the religious Jewish and the culture and the basic rights of the Jewish people, I think it's okay. Also, Arab will live okay with this.
Do you know why? I was in the government when the discussion was about equality. And the reason they're not willing to put anywhere the word equality is because the rabbinate is afraid of us Orthodox feminists, that we will want our equality. I'm not kidding. That's the real answer, yeah. So it's not even about Jews and Arabs. It's just the rabbinate is afraid that we'll want our rights to marry, to divorce, the whole regular thing. It's true.
And there's a question here, Menachem, about how you get parental support for the kids attending your school. So that's one, and I'm curious, a follow-up to that question, which is, it's still a minority among the Haredi population. So how do the parents who don't choose to send their kids to your schools react to the parents who do choose to send their kids to your schools?
So something very interesting happened when I started 13 years ago. It was very few kids, 14 boys. I was always saying the only criteria to get accepted to the school if you are breathing. I didn't check any cognitive abilities, just to make it happen. And what happened is that we have now 20 schools, but there is 10% now in the Haredi community who consider it as modern Haredim. There's another 30% in the Haredi community is considered as conservative Haredim with modern touch. What does it mean? That we now start influence those conservative Haredim. We start with the modern. Just for 2 years ago, Belz, Vishnitz, Tzan, I don't know if you know all those funny names, but this is huge communities, Hasidic communities, who join the national schools. And this is because Netzach. Why? Because everyone needs to, to stand on the stage and see who is in the left, who is in the right, and everyone needs an enemy beside him to define himself. We are very happy to be the enemy, right? And the fact is that so many new communities joined the nation state. That's why I'm so optimistic. And you ask me, I think it's going to come a time, mainly in the Hasidic community, but it's going to come a time, you will feel bad if your kids is not in a national school, because that's mean they're going to be very, kids that cannot afford, nothing in the life. I think that is the trend.
Interesting. We have time for one last question, so I'm sorry if I didn't get to yours. Maria, how does the 20% Arab population view Israeli Jews during the past 2 years? You have 2 minutes.
I think I answered this question. Very difficult. I think we have, as I said, Arab society feel like, in one hand, the war really affect the Arab society, especially in the north border. But in the other hand, all the time, politicians speak against Arab, and the Arab society have their interior war with the organized crime. And as I said, it's feel like the government don't care, the Jewish societies doesn't care, the gap and the distance. Sorry if I'm pessimistic, is just going and being more large. And I looking for. I think we have we have no chance for Israeli future if we don't fix this point. A whole generation of Arab kids and a whole generation of Jewish kids growing up without even knowing each other, and from there we should start, because if we don't meet, we don't know, and then we fear, and then division starts.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all very much for being here, for your excellent questions. I think whether you agree with any particular point of view or not, I think it gives us all hope to know that there are people like these four thinking about and working on these issues in Israel right now. So Itamar, Maria, Rachel, Menachem, thank you all very much for being here, and enjoy the rest of Z3.